Folks, should you be buying property in Victoria, Australia, or even anywhere in Australia? Should you be investing in property with all of the changes from the government, with capital gains tax changes, with changes to negative gearing, and also the various land taxes that exist throughout the country? Is investing in property even a way to gain wealth anymore? Now, if you're a business owner and you're looking to know where should I put your money, this is going to be of interest to you. My next guest is Dean Munro, a buyer's agent from Dean Munro Agency. Now, if you want to understand the answers to these questions and much, much more, then you're in the right place because Dean Munro is my next guest on the Moving Beyond Being Good podcast. Let's go.
Hi folks, welcome to the Moving Beyond Being Good podcast by Gary Ryan from Organisations That Matter. In this podcast, Gary shares everything about servant leadership, service leadership, authentic leadership, how to create high performance cultures, service excellence, and life balance. Here's your host, Gary Ryan.
Welcome, Dean. It's great to have you back on the Moving Beyond Being Good podcast. How are you doing?
G'day, Gary. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. So let's dive straight into it because I know what everyone wants to know, especially business owners that, are making some money and they want to know where can they invest their money. First question, Dean. Should people invest in property in the state of Victoria in Australia?
Good question, Gary. And the answer is definitely.
Okay. I want to hear why. Why is Victoria, with all the changes to capital gains tax, negative gearing, the land tax that Victoria, if I understand correctly, is the highest in the country, why would people invest in property?
So it just comes down to supply and demand. So at the moment, we've got a lot of people coming into Victoria and you've got the demand. So we've got a shortage of supply. So that's the reason why.
And how are yields going against the total cost of a property? Because obviously you invest in a property, then you've got the stamp duty you have to pay on that purchase. Then you've got your property taxes that you're likely to have to, well, you're going to have to pay as well. And so how's the math from a real net yield looking from the perspective of investors who are looking to get into that market to have some stock that's obviously short so they could rent it out?
Yeah, so if you just compare every Victoria to the other states, the yields in particular, Sydney, Queensland, WA, the yields in Melbourne are looking really good because there's been sort of some softening in the market. That means that the yields have gone up. And again, going back to the demand that we have for housing and the shortage, we're going to be seeing some rental increases and that positively affects the yields. So looking at everything, the yields are good and the returns will be good for Victoria.
So the fact that housing prices have stagnated, if not even dropped a bit in Victoria, meaning the market softened, has actually made it, when you put all of the math together, still an attractive place for investors.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've been looking at all areas of the Melbourne market and the Victorian market, and it's a win-win. So when there's fear, that's when opportunities arise.
Fantastic. And not everyone will have watched the first time that we had our interview a few years ago now. So just give people a little bit of your background about how long you've been a buyer's agent for and how long you've been in the industry for. And we go way back when you published a book called Breaking the Chains when you were just a student in your 20s and you bought your first property and you authored that book with your great mate, Chris Hage. So just give people a little bit of a background about why should they even listen to what you've got to say on this topic.
Yeah, so I've been buying property myself for 2 decades now, so 20 years. It's gone very quickly. And if I could go back 20 years, I would have definitely have tried to buy more property. So I got into the quantity surveying field, which was construction management, which I did at university. Then I progressed in that, became a senior quantity surveyor. Then I wanted to get into real estate. So in 2017, I took the jump. I started my own business called Dean Munro Property. And I've been doing buyer advocacy since then, helping people secure homes and build their property portfolios.
And so now you're into your 10th year of being in Dean Munro property, which is deanmunro.com.au. That's the website, correct?
Correct. Yep.
That's right. Go and check out deanmunro.com.au, folks. You'll see lots of photos of people out standing in front of sold signs that Dean has helped them purchase through this journey. So that's something else that I find a lot of people aren't really very clear about is exactly what does a buyer's agent do?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of people who are moving to Melbourne, especially currently. So they may not know the areas in Melbourne or Victoria. So what my job is they tell me their budget and what their requirements are. Then my job is to go out and find them the best property for the best price.
And then when it literally comes to the auctions, are
Yep.
they standing there raising their hand, or how does that part work?
So they'll sometimes, yeah, if it is auction, I'll go to the auction. My client will stand either in the crowd or if they're interstate and they're not actually in the state, they'll just be, yeah. So if we're successful in securing the home, I'll give them the call and then I go inside with the agent and sign all the paperwork for them.
Okay, so you've been authorized to be able to do that
Yeah.
signatures on their behalf, correct? Okay. And what are some of the key things that people sort of need to have sorted out prior to that event that helps make it flow nice and smoothly, Dean?
Yeah, definitely. So, firstly, finance. So, getting their budget, getting their finance approved, that's the first step. Then, when we're doing the due diligence of a home, a contract review, legal contract review is very, very important. So, once that's reviewed and there's no red flags, then I start my due diligence. So, I'll be preparing my own independent property report and suburb report and listing all the benefits and things to consider about that home. And then if that passes, then we start the negotiation phase. So it could be going to the auction, it could be negotiating it on a private sale or expressions of interest. And then once we're secured it, I'll do the final inspection. And if it's an investment property, I'll prepare the tax depreciation report.
Yeah, which is another benefit of the services you provide because you help with the tax depreciation. How has the negative gearing laws that are about to kick in, how are they going to impact that side of the equation?
Yeah, so I have been getting asked this question quite a lot lately. So if you already own an existing investment property, it's grandfathered, so it's not going to affect you. If you're looking at a new build, so purchasing a property which is a new build, then it's not going to affect you. It's only going to affect you slightly if you buy an existing house. But when you're looking at tax depreciation for existing homes anyway, you don't get as much as the new builds. Or if you've got an investment property, it doesn't affect you.
Okay, so for an existing property that you might be buying after these laws kick in, what you're
Mm.
saying is there is still depreciation benefits that the owner is going to get as a result of having purchased that property, but it's just not going to be it's just going to be a different structure than what the negative gearing was providing. Am I accurate in saying that?
So yeah, if people do have any questions about tax depreciation, I can look at their specific cases and then advise if they can benefit from the tax depreciation. The main thing is with this whole, and this actually happened in New Zealand a few years ago, they try to do the tax changes, which were similar to what they're trying to do in Victoria now. And it didn't go very well. The rents went up significantly. And yeah, so it's like they probably should have had a look at New Zealand before they went and started doing this.
Well, this would appear they should have done a lot of things before they did it, but their motivations might be different than that. So, nonetheless, at this stage they're going through. So, what you're suggesting is, I think in New Zealand it got reversed. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's every chance that's going to happen here, certainly with the impact, because their calculations and the impact on rents actually going up because to a degree they've actually taken supply out of the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, because home buyers have been buying rather than investors buying, and if investors don't buy, then there's nowhere for people to rent. So it's actually in their interest to have investors owning for people to be able to rent, even though we want to have a balanced system where people can also buy, but if people are getting out of the investment place because they don't think the math works, then that's actually bad for renting, and that does drive up rentals. So
Rent.
that's how the
Yep.
math works. We say the math is the path, right? Or the math is the path, if you want to say it in an English or South Australian accent. But we'll leave that to the South Australians. So a bit of a whack there. Hopefully, someone comments in there. Some South Australia sticks up for South Australia in there for me, with me. Now, Dean, one of the things with investing for the first time, like
Mm.
what are some of the things you help people with that, they're getting into this property game for the first time. They've never done it before. They
Yeah.
they they think I'm going to do it by myself. What would be the benefits of not doing it by themselves and actually reaching out to you to
Yeah.
get your hand holding effectively through the journey, given you more than 2 decades of playing this game?
Yeah. So once you have the experience and the knowledge, and especially for 2 decades, you can pass that on to, for example, a young investor and make sure that they don't make any mistakes. That's the main thing. It's very, very costly if you make a mistake in your first investment property, and it slows you down. So if you set up the first buy the right way, then you can then move on and then increase your property portfolio over time. So that's my job, and that all comes down to the due diligence. So if a first home buyer engages me, then or an investor, I'll just ensure that they mitigate their risk. I'll get all the due diligence done right. We'll secure the property. After 1 year, then I'll do a check, see, I like to call it a property health check, and
Yep.
then from there we'll assess if we want to expand the property or leave it, and just and then review again once they're ready to continue their journey.
So when folk engage you, it's not like we do the purchase and then see you later. Bring me if you want to get another one in the future. What I'm hearing there is that your system's structured in a way that you've got support at least for a year,
Yeah,
post that initial sale, to just check that everything's going the way that was originally planned, and that the investment's actually working for them.
yeah, definitely. So they can call me anytime. So I always answer my phone. Then once they're in a position to sort of gear up and make the next commitment, then we'll just repeat the process and ensure that their property journey is smooth and safe.
Yeah. And so, like, what's your biggest story for the person that came in with their first investment property and now they've got X number? Like, what's without giving away who they are for privacy reasons, but what's the sort of the biggest journey you've been on so far with a client?
Again, I started my property journey in 2017 when people trust me and they engage our services. I like to stay with them the whole process, and some people have built a very strong portfolio, such as myself. So I can teach them how to do what I did. And some people have just stayed nice and low key and just got the few properties.
Because in addition to obviously supporting investors, you also help people buying a property to live in. So that could be someone that's already living in a property and wants to downsize, upsize, change location. So you definitely have a lot of owner occupiers, that you're helping out from that buyer's advocacy point of view.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, so from an investor's point of view, are the costs associated with working with you, are they a depreciation? Are they able to expense that against the property?
So if it's an investment property, that some fees are tax deductible. It depends what they engage my services for. There are different types of levels of services they can engage me. They can get just partial service, which is just, for example, auction bidding, or they
Yes.
might get the full service where I do everything. So, like again, if they have any questions about sort of engagement and if it's an investment property and deducting the fees, I can talk to them about that as well.
And at what part of the process are those fees all quite clear? Is it fairly early in the journey that you're able to say, look, this is what it's going to cost, or is it something that takes a little bit of time at first to work out exactly, which is it a little bit tricky for you if that was the case? I'm assuming it's the first one that you're able to say, hey, look, for this sort of result that you're looking for, this is what the investment's going to be.
Yeah, so people have their budget, and when we have our first initial discussion, I'll outline my fees and I'm upfront. It's very straightforward. And if they want to just engage me for the small fee, that's fine. If they want to engage me for the whole fee, that's also okay. It's what they're comfortable with and how much help they require.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if someone's time poor, the full
Mm.
service makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah, I have plenty of people from interstate or overseas, and they're not in Melbourne on the ground like I am every day. So they may engage me for the full service. If people are in Melbourne and they want to come along with me, and some clients do come with to auctions with me or inspections, then they are welcome to choose that service.
Now, you've lent into why Melbourne's still attractive. What about regional Victoria? And I'm aware that you do provide your services across regional Victoria too. So how's regional Victoria travelling at this time also from an investment point of view?
Yeah, so once COVID happened, regional Victoria became very attractive. So a lot of people moved into Victoria, Bendigo, Ballarat, Geelong. So it has had very good growth, and those regional cities and towns have had growth. So I would recommend also looking at regional. It's a different approach. And again, it just depends on your scenario and what you're trying to achieve. So it's most likely a cheaper price point to get into regional Victoria. The yields are good. There's also benefits of Melbourne. So I'll just need to assess and work out where you want to go and what your goals are, and what you want to achieve. And then we can work out how to move forward.
So if someone came to you and said, "Look, I'm early into this. My budget's around the 650,000 mark,
Hmm.
plus the statutory costs on top of that. Um, I want a good yield, and I'm not really that fussed about exactly where in Victoria it is."
Yeah,
You could help them.
definitely. So I can look at regional Victoria and point them in the right direction for their budget, for example, of 600K. Or you can even get still into Melbourne. You can get a house in Melbourne for 600,000. So I can point them wherever they want to end up.
Yeah, so I'd imagine a lot of people tuning in to be going, "You can still get a house in Melbourne for $600,000." Like really? Like
You can.
you can, and that's the sort of information you have at hand. Like where that is. And I assume if they've got a young family, if they wanted to own or occupy things like schools, public transport, you factor all of those things into account, whether it's
Yeah.
regional or in Melbourne. Um, What's a question you've been getting asked that I haven't asked you yet today?
So one question is what I usually get asked is where's the next hotspot? And again, Melbourne, Victoria is very attractive when you compare it to the other states such as New South Wales, Sydney, go up Queensland, go over to WA. Melbourne is sticking out, and the affordability is great in Melbourne.
Right. And in addition to that information, with the current changes not affecting the purchase of commercial property through self-managed super funds, if people wanting to invest that way,
Hmm.
are commercial properties also something that you look at it for folk as well?
Yeah. So again, usually you get the residential right. And then once you've gone through that process and you understand the residential side of things, usually investors then move towards commercial. And again, commercial is also very attractive in Melbourne and regional Victoria.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so for folk that hear about this, have talked about it, but haven't pulled the trigger, what would
Mm.
be one thing that you'd be, that you've actually helped people to get across that line? Like what's the thing that you share with them or inform them or give them the information about that is actually the thing that helps them take that action to get into the property investing? And
Yeah.
I'm probably more speaking on the investment side rather than owner occupier, Dean, at the moment. What,
Yeah.
what yeah, what is the thing that you share with them that helps get them to take that action when they're
Mm.
really quite scared?
Yeah, so it's about building confidence and trust and also building the right team. So when a client comes to see me or potential client, I'll ask them, how's your finance looking? Do you have finance approved? Do you want to have a chat with a finance expert? Do you have a legal professional, a solicitor, or a conveyancer? Then I'll say, do you have a building inspector? So, and I build the whole team around a customer, and then from there we can go and move forward. So we're all confident, we know exactly what we're doing, and that's about guiding investors and making sure that we're all feeling great when we're about to purchase and everything's been ticked.
And so if they've got, well, I don't have any of those people,
Hmm.
you're able to put them in contact with people so that team can get built rather quickly. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so we just about recommending the right professionals. So I'll point them if they need finance, I'll say go and have a chat to this person. If they need a legal advice, I'll go and say chat to this team. And then if they need building and pest for when we find the right property, I can say, okay, here's a reputable building inspector, and then everything gets done and properly and without any issues.
So we get that team organized, and let's
Mm.
just use that $650,000 example we were using before, and they're happy to be regional or Melbourne. Typically, how long does the journey take, again, from an investor's point of view?
Yep. So we won't just go out and buy the first property. But again, if a very good option comes up and it is popular, we will focus and make sure that we do everything we can do to secure that home. And there will be competition with the homes we're looking at. It usually takes about 2 to 3 months on average to secure the right home for our clients.
That's shorter than I was anticipating. Like that seems pretty quick. Like imagine someone sitting there going, I've been going to do this for years and years, and I haven't pulled the trigger. I could have my first, we're in July now. They could have their first property before Christmas.
Yeah, definitely. So they'll come and see me. They might say, we've been looking for 6 months and we keep missing out. We don't know, and we're really confused of what areas and what we want. My job is to make sure that they have better clarity, focus, and then I can just focus on the right approach and secure the right home.
And I guess, Dean, like this is what it's such a it is a complex thing to do. It's not simple. It's not like just playing a simple card game. It's quite a complex thing to do, and there are elements to the puzzle that you've just described.
Yeah.
Leaning into your 2 decades worth of experience of actually buying properties, and then you're in your 10th year of your business of actually being a buyer's agent and buying properties on behalf of people. It's your job to know what's happening in the market every day of the week, so you're on top of what's available where. So even in a market that appears to have low supply, which we
Mm.
currently have, the benefit that people, one of the benefits people get from working with you is that you still know where the properties are. You still have the relationships with the real estate agents that in many instances, I'm assuming, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of these purchases can happen off market.
Yeah, so I know all the agents in Melbourne and Victoria. I have really good relationships with them. I can get off markets. I know what properties are available. I know what properties have passed in, and if a gem has passed in, I will act quickly. So whatever I'm looking for, I will find.
And one of the things I've learned about you, Dean, is while you come across as nice and calm and collected, you're like a dog on a bone when it comes to serving your clients. You work very hard for them.
Definitely. So a lot of late night calls and a lot of hours every week spent.
That's it. That's 100% right. So lastly, I have asked you this once before, but I'm going to do it again. We always
Hmm.
ask our guests, what does moving beyond being good mean for you, Dean?
So every day you learn new things, so it's exciting, and it's about just going along and enjoying the journey. So beyond being good is a good approach to take, and yeah, again, servicing clients, having repeat clients, and building a good reputation is what every business should be looking at doing.
So, folks, the best way to get on to Dean is through deanmunro.com.au. You'll go and see all the sales that he's got for his various clients on there, smiling happily in front of their sold signs of the new properties they've got, either as an owner occupier or as an investor. You've also heard that Dean also supports folk if they're looking at getting into the commercial space as well. Dean, I'd like to thank you for your time and joining us on the Moving Beyond Being Good podcast.
Thanks very much for having me, Gary. It's been great.
It's an absolute pleasure. So once again, folks, please make sure that you like and subscribe to the Moving Beyond Being Good podcast so you get to keep up to speed with all of the great interviewees that we have. And once again, I'm Gary Ryan, the host of the Moving Beyond Being Good podcast, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye.